Hello and welcome to a Java tutorial. Today I'm going to be showing you guys how to parse JSON in Java. So for those of you who don't know, JSON, JSON, stands for JavaScript Object Notation. And just a little quick thing on JavaScript. Let's open up a notepad. If you want to make, say, an object in JavaScript, you do, no, not Java. You do var obj equals and then these curly brackets, and then you do like prop and then value, or it could be a string value, and that's pretty much how it works. So prop or commas, prop 2, and then do a number, and the list goes on and on of what you can do. And there's a way to note this type of object in JSON, and it's pretty much a thing that takes this and converts it into a string. So it's like, say this, that's the string right there. And there's your JavaScript object. Obviously these would have to be escaped. Go. The property names also have to be in quotes for JSON. And then this here can be converted into an object in JavaScript. And it's a nice way to store data, especially because you can make a JSON file type. Let me see if this supports that. JSON right here, yep. So you can have a JSON file type, and this stores this JSON value. So prop, and you do value, or get in like prop 2, this should be a string, and you give it a number, and you do say obj, you give it an object with properties, prop obj prop, and this is obj value. You can even do arrays, and you can do a whole bunch of stuff. So it's a good way to store small bits of information. For those of you who are familiar with Minecraft mods, there's actually a way to do, you have to store what is this? Oh no, that's not right. You have to store block information, just from a tutorial that I've been following. Block to notate, or blocks for the game have to go in JSON files. Sorry, I can't talk right now. But it makes sense because you can store, information like pretty easily in a JSON file. Like all this. This is somewhat hard to read, but it's simple. You can tell, the name from and you can store however much information you want, and it's lightweight, unlike XML. So, how do you parse JSON in Java? Well, there's a nice little Java library called Json.org, and it's a library, and you can't really just like straight up download the jar file, and well, there are places, but it's not necessarily the most up to date. So the way I'm going to do is I'm going to use their GitHub, which is an open GitHub. You can check their license and see permissions you are granted if you have charged for any person obtaining this copy and associated documentary to deal in the software without restriction. Which pretty much you can do whatever you want with json.org. So what you're going to do is you're going to click on clone or download, and you're just going to download zip. Okay. So here we got a zip folder, or zip file. What you're going to do is you're going to extract it. Oh, shoot. I already did this. So replace files and destination, whatever. You're going to extract it, and now you have JSON Java master here. And then we're going to go ahead and Eclipse. You're going to make a new project, Java project, and call it json.org. The name doesn't matter. Really, none of this really matters. All you got to do, this is where it does matter. You do need to make a package and call it org.json. Just like that. And what you're going to do is you're going to take all these files, all the ones that end in .java, all the source files, and drag and drop them into this package and copy files. And now this is the JSON object. Okay? So now what you're going to do is you're going to export Java jar file, not runnable jar file, but jar file. You're going to click that right there, make sure that's checked off, and go ahead and do export Java source files and resources. And browse to your jar file. Go ahead and do that. I have it here. I'm just going to put it in here. json.jar. Okay? Click finish and then your jar will appear. But I already have the jar, so that's that. So go ahead, you can go ahead and delete this. You can even delete the contents on disk. As long as your jar file is outside of the project folder, you'll be fine. I'm going to go ahead and delete the contents off disk. Okay, next thing you need to do is you need to find that jar file. So third-party resources, Java, JSON. Okay, so now we just need to make a new Java project. And I'm going to go ahead and call this JSON tutorial. Okay? What you're going to do is you're going to right click on that and make a new folder. Nope, that's not right. Make a new folder, not Java working set, and call it lib. Lib is pretty much the standard name for third-party libraries in Java. So lib, and then you're going to drag and drop json.jar into lib right here, and make sure you copy files. And then you're going to right click this JSON jar, go down to build path and add to build path to make sure that you can actually use it now. So you see in here you have your files, and I have a decompiler plugin installed, so that's why it looks nice. But if you don't have that, you right click in reference library, you right click the jar, go to properties. It's Java source attachment, workspace location, and then just click the jar file, and your source will be there as well. Okay, so now that we got that out of the way, we can now use the JSON stuff in your project. Go ahead and make a new class and just call our new package. And I'm just going to do com.tcd.json. But you can name it whatever you want, just don't do org.json. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to need a file handle class. This is just going to have one static method in there, and it's just going to be able to grab files. So public static input stream from file. It's always good to use input streams because when you export it, it's going to work differently. So, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to return null. That's the default return. So we're going to try catch exception e.print. Oh, did I spell that wrong? Change to that. Print stack trace. Okay. So input stream is equal to file handle, the name of the class, dot get resource as stream path. Okay, so this is going to be the path to the file, and then this is going to get the resource as an input stream from the path. So yeah, and then you're going to return input stream. Okay, cool. So now you're going to make a new class. We're going to make another helper class, and this is going to have JSON utils. So JSON utils. Okay, and this is just going to have a bunch of static methods. So the first static method we're going to want is a static string. We're going to want to get a JSON string. Get JSON string from file string path. Okay, so what this is going to do is it's going to return a string that is a JSON. So it's going to return this, but this is going to be all just a string in one line. So what you do is you're gonna do scanner. We're gonna need a scanner, and you need an input stream in equals file handle dot input stream from file path. All right, import that. Scanner equals new scanner in. Okay. String JSON equals scanner.use delimiter. So this is going to pretty much remove spaces and new lines, which is what we need for the JSON string. It can't have any spaces or new lines. And this is escaping the escape. So this is just a backslash and a Z because it's using this, the backslash C, as a way to get rid of all the things. So scanner.close. And then I forgot to put this on the GitHub, but we also need to close the input stream. And then we're going to return JSON. Okay. Or not. Oh. Never mind. Just whatever. You should probably close your input stream, but this is such a tiny project that it's not going to really matter. So public static JSON object. So JSON object is going to be, one of these in the curly brackets. Okay. So JSON object, get JSON object from file. String path. So what this is going to do is it's just going to take a file, a JSON file, and then convert it into a JSON object to be used. So we're going to return new JSON object. And then a JSON object can be empty, and then you can just, add values or whatever, because you can do like dot add or dot append, I think. There you go. Dot append or whatever. But you can also make a JSON object and have it initialize to already have values and properties from a string. So then all we have to do is get JSON string from file path. So what it's doing is generating an object using the string from the file that you give it. All right. And then another thing is just another nice method. I don't think I implemented this in the tutorial, but I always like to have this object exists JSON object, because JSON, there's no really rules on how you implement an object or anything like that, and you can make mistakes like that. So you have to make sure you can check whether or not an object exists. So by the way, a key is the property, the name, this little the thing in quotes that goes before the colon here, and that's the key. Okay. So we're going to do object O, and we'll return O not equal to null. So if O is null, then this will return false. Okay. So as long as the object is not null. So we're going to try and catch exception. I cannot spell today. E. Okay. What is this? Oh yeah. So okay. So the reason I'm putting this in a try catch is because if you try to do a JSON object, if you try to get a property value that doesn't exist, it's going to throw an error. So that's even better. So O is object.getKey, and then we're just going to return false. We're not even going to bother printing the stack trace out, because what's the point? Because if there's an error getting the key, then that means it doesn't exist. So you can just return false, and then it checks if it's not null to see if the object exists. Okay, cool. So now all we have to do is implement it. So we're just going to make a quick main class. So new class main. that's package. New class main, and we're going to give it a public static void main string args. So we're going to do JSON object obj equals JSON utils.get JSON object from file. Oh, we didn't make the JSON file, of course. So before you do any of this, I got a little carried away. Go ahead and right click on the project and add a new source folder and call it assets. Having a separate assets folder for this kind of stuff is always good, so you can put your images and your JSON files and all that in a separate place from your source. So go ahead and make a new. Also, you might want to get this plugin here. So the link is going to be right here. It's going to be in the description, the link to this and the link to this. You can drag and drop this into Eclipse and install it, but I already have it installed. Make sure you have this before you do any of this, because you want syntax highlighting and error checking for all that in JSON. Okay, cool. Sorry, I didn't tell you guys that. Okay, so you're going to go ahead and make a new other JSON file, obj.json. Okay? And first things first, all JSON files, you see I already have an error. All JSON files must start and end with an opening and closing curly bracket. That's because the JSON file is one big object, and the object has to be contained in one of these. Okay? So JSON can support a bunch of different data types. So it can support a number. So we're going to go ahead and put in 2. You can even do floating point. It's a double precision number by default. But I'm just going to go ahead and leave it as an integer. Okay, and then you can do a string. That's hello world. Boolean. True. Remember, these are all using JavaScript rules. And as you can see with the plugin, you start having an outline here of all your stuff. You can even store an object. So object, make sure you use your curly brackets, and you do, values inside the object. So this is an object inside of an object. So object number 23, an object string, I am in the object. And you can put as many things as you want in an object. You can even put another object inside another object inside another object. But make sure if you're in an object, every object you make has to have a name. Okay? And finally, you can make an array. An array has square brackets, not curly brackets. Remember, you're using JavaScript rules, so in an array of JavaScript, you have to use the square brackets, and an object uses curly brackets. And the values in an array don't have a name. So you do string in array, and because this is JavaScript, you don't need to put in the same data types. You can put in a number and a Boolean and another object that doesn't have to have a name. So you can do array object string. Objects in arrays do not need names. Okay? So this is our JSON file. This is just a whole bunch of data that you just store in a file that you can use inside your code. And this is good because say you have a program that just has a lot of stuff and it's all based on the JSON file, and you don't want to make like a million, like say you were making a card game and you wanted to have a card class, and the card class has a bunch of values like its power and its description and all that. And instead of making a new card object for every single card, you can just make a JSON file and just store it in there, and you can just change it without having to manipulate any code. And then just have the code run it based on all the different cards in the files. So that's why these kind of things are much better than having a full-on source file for these kind of things, because it's just data that you're storing. You don't need to have any methods or anything like that inside of a JSON object. So okay, so to our main class. So JSON object obj equals that. From file / obj.json. So this is relative to the project, and if you export it, this is going to be com folder, tcg folder, JSON folder, but everything in here is just going to go into root, and this is going into root too. So say, for example, let me just go ahead and try to export this. Let me just launch configuration. Oh, I haven't tried to run it yet. So let's try just exporting it and just do like json tut.jar. There we go. We have to we have to actually run it first. Java application. Why isn't it running? That's weird. No. Run as Java application, run configurations. Yeah. Oh, of course. We're not actually printing out anything. So that's actually fine. So okay, let's go ahead and do runnable jar again. There we go. Finish. Please use licenses with your, okay. Jar export with warnings because of this isn't used. But if we were to go into code here, or whatever your thing is, where did I put it? JSON tut.jar, and open it with 7-zip. What it does is see obj.json went into just the root, and so did this package. This is the JSON. Here we go. And that's our stuff. So you can also put folders in here into slash folder dash that. But just make sure you're using the forward slashes. So it's kind of like a URL. But anyway, I'm rambling at this point. So let's just get on with the tutorial. So string array names equals JSON object. This is a static method dot get names of the obj. Sorry. So what this is going to do is it's going to return an array of all of these, but just the ones that are in the base of this. So anything in here will not be in this array, but just all of these will be, not any of the names inside of nested objects. So you can go ahead and do that. Then we're going to do a for string in names. And use sys out. For now, we're just going to do string. We're going to see how it is. So see, it's array, number, object, string, boolean. I think it does it in alphabetical. No, it does it in just random order, whatever it reads. I think it does it by length, actually. Yeah, I think it does it by length. But anyway, the order is not in the same order as the file, so be aware of that. Make sure if you do have to do anything in order that you like order it yourself within the array once you have it. So this is a good way of seeing all the stuff that's in there. So string plus, and then we're going to put in a colon and a space, plus obj.get. You can get all the different types, but this just returns a straight up object, string key that. We'll go ahead and print that out. Array, and then it's going to has an array. String and array is the value 300 false array object string. And then we have our object with the property name and its value. Number just prints out the number. Object, it prints out the object with the property names also printed out. 23. This is just a JSON string right here. This, you can actually copy this and just put it in a file and use it as a JSON file. And then string, hello world, boolean, true. So that's just how you can get all the different things. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to print out a new line. \n. And you can just do, and we're going to do JSON array this is how we're going to read that array. JSON array equals obj.get JSON array, and we called it array in our folder, in our JSON file. I think it's case sensitive. Oh, go ahead and just input star for JSON. Let me just see what happens if I do that. Yep, it's case sensitive. So make sure you're that you know that it's case sensitive. Okay. For int I equals 0, and then it pretty much acts like a hash map. Or not like a hash map, more like an array list. Just a list type in Java. Dot length I plus plus, except for its length and not size. And then sysout JSON array dot get I, and it'll just print out string and array 300, which is the number, false, and then the object, which is a JSON object that toString just returns the string. If we were to sys out this right here, obj, it would just print out just all the different values. But anyway, so there's that. That's how you use an array. You can also do .get, you saw the different data types. .get, Boolean double int. You just have to know which index does what. You just make sure you know that, so you don't do some data, mismatch or whatever. Just doing .get is probably the safest way to do it. So then sysout, and then you can get the individual values as well. So that's what I'm going to do next. So int number, we're going to go ahead and grab this number here, equals obj.get int. Now it defaults to a double when you're actually using it in JavaScript, because JavaScript doesn't have such strict types as Java does. But JSON, if it's an integer, so if it doesn't have a decimal or anything, it can just convert it to an integer. So we're going to do that. We're going to give it number. Let's actually see how it does that. Object.get return number, all that, whatever. Okay. Or you can sys out number, and that's just an int. We can use it for whatever reasons you want to use an integer for. So you can see we have our 2 here. Oh, we don't want to print out loud, we just want to print. There we go. And then we can get the string. So string equals obj.get string. Make sure it's capitalized correctly. Sysout string. And you can see we have hello world as it was in the file here. We got 2 as it was there. And lastly, you can, I'm so sorry. Boolean bool equals obj.get boolean boolean and sysout bool. So that's the basics of reading. So we got true. So that's the basics of reading a JSON file in Java to be used for basic data types, and even for some complex ones if you want the objects and the arrays. And it's pretty useful when it comes to pretty much anything. Even if you have, say, an online game and it posts a request, and then the request comes back as a JSON string, you don't have to be using files for this. You can just use JSON object and then just give it the string that you get from the server. And you can make, an online game with that. You can make a web, an application that's web-based. So say you wanted to make like a social net, instant messaging site, and all that, and it returns a whole bunch of information about the conversation or whatever. You do it in JSON. It's the easiest way to do that kind of stuff. So you can easily do all that and then read it in Java. So that's why JSON is very important. It's starting to get a lot more popular now that It's just getting popular. It's pretty great. So I'm going to stop rambling now, and I'm going to tell you all of the links that you need for this are in the description, and I will also put a link to a GitHub repository with this tutorial on, with all the code from this tutorial, so you can look over it and make sure you practice this stuff. Again, when I make a tutorial, it's not just for you to copy code; it's for you to practice it. So practice this and, use it in a project and see how you like JSON. If not, you can use XML or whatever you want. But I like JSON. So yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.